Welcome to That's Good Broncos. I am Brandon Perna, and I am breaking down what I believe will transpire for the Denver Broncos moving forward, which involves some major personnel changes, the 2017 quarterback situation, and I'll even break down why evaluating first-year QBs is what scientists and mathematicians refer to as fucking impossible. In today's news, Kayvon Webster, with that nasty concussion he suffered, and DeMarcus Ware with more back issues have been placed on IR, and that means we may have seen DeMarcus Ware play his last snap as a Bronco. That's good, Broncos. This episode is sponsored by CWHemp.com. Use my promo code, That's Good, for 10% off of your order of Charlotte's Web hemp oil. Why do you want hemp oil? Well, if you need to calm the fuck down but don't like pills or being stoned all the time, then try Charlotte's Web hemp oil to get you through the day. It can help you feel better, be a nicer person, and achieve your dreams of becoming an astronaut. The dumbest part about the Broncos missing the playoffs, besides everyone acting like it's the end of the fucking world, are the clever ways Facebook is trying to trick me into clicking on articles. This is how millennials are saving money, and it's genius. What the fuck is Save Honey? Why is there a cute girl with a Broncos beanie on the cover? I thought this was a Broncos article until I read what the hell it said. And to answer their question, it's live in your parents' basement like I did until you and your wife could buy a house. That's how millennials save money. The Broncos will have an extended postseason for the first time since 2011 following their 4-12 2010 season. If you think John Elway is going to sit on his ass and wait for Kubiak to mull over some very tough decisions he needs to make, I'd say you are wrong. Elway, as we know, don't fuck around. He's got the grenade in hand and he's ready to blow some shit up. The question, really, at this point is not should Siemian, Lynch, or a new veteran signing be the quarterback in 2017. That's pretty fucking irrelevant if the Broncos don't make some big changes on offense. Remember when they lost Super Bowl 48, then brought in TJ Ward to keep Talib and DeMarcus Ware? Expect something similar to happen again, except on the other side of the ball. Yes, they could target a veteran quarterback, Tony Romo, Tyrod Taylor, or my dark horse, Kirk Cousins, but first, they need a change at offensive coordinator, offensive line coach, and in the O-line scouting department. I believe they will make some of those changes, and who they put there will dictate the types of players they target. So even trying to guess who will be quarterback in 2017 right now, it's a waste of all of our time. Just stop worrying about it. The man who ends up QBing the Broncos in 2017 is going to be the guy who can run the new offense with the new offensive coordinator, assuming that is in fact what Elway and Kubiak do. Again, I believe Kubiak can remain in the head coaching spot as long as he allows someone else to run the offense. We do know Simeon will get the start Sunday against the Raiders, and that Lynch will get some playing time as well, which is a genius move by Gary Kubiak because it means he's not tipping his hat in any direction, and they're both getting playing time, and we all keep getting to wonder what the hell they're gonna do with the QBs. I will say, I don't know if the offensive line can be fixed in one offseason. Right tackle is need number 1. Right guard is maybe need number 2. Left tackle or left guard need number 3, depending on what they do with Russell Okung and his $11.7 million 2017 salary. Okung, with the restructure, could be the left tackle or a very good swing tackle for the Broncos. Donald Stevenson is set to make $5 million, and if cut, would have a dead cap hit of $2 million. The Broncos have an estimated cap space right now of $38.9 million, which will jump to $41 with the release of Stevenson and more if Okung is willing to restructure. Some free agents to keep an eye on are TJ Lang, guard from Green Bay, tackle Sebastian Vollmer from New England, Ronald Leary, guard from Dallas, and guard Kevin Zeitler from Cincinnati. Those will be the top linemen available, with a few other decent players floating around. C.J. Anderson will also return in 2017, and that will be a huge boost for the offense. His injury, more than any other this season, really crippled the things the Broncos wanted to do on offense. In addition to CJ, they need a dynamic back, like a Christian McCaffrey, who can break big plays at any time in the game. A lack of explosive plays has been missing for 2 full seasons now, and we know the Patriots are high on McCaffrey, so draft him for no other reason than to fuck the Patriots. Denver also needs a pass-catching tight end, and some upgrades at defensive tackle and right defensive end. Yes, that's a long fucking wish list, and I'm not accounting for any injuries that could and probably will occur at the beginning of next season. The good news is, in terms of free agency, the Broncos have a lot of flexibility. Here's a list of their 2017 unrestricted free agents, and on that list, I only see 2 must re-sign players in Kayvon Webster and Vance Walker, depending on how he recovers from his knee injury, which he suffered in training camp. I'd definitely love to see DeMarcus Ware return if he decides not to retire and is willing to play at a team-friendly price. I'm confident the defense will be good again, maybe great with the addition of a dominant right end or nose tackle. The Broncos have 10 draft picks, but drafting O-line personnel has not been a strength of this organization, and even if they hit on a pick or 2 in the 2017 draft on the line, typically those guys take time to develop. Maybe Connor McGovern will be ready, and maybe Adam Gotsis makes a leap on the D-line, but other than that, we are probably about to see a whole bunch of new faces up front for the Broncos. Everyone seems to be extremely divided on the Paxton Lynch and Trevor Siemian debate, and for no real good reason. Again, I'm not a mathematician, but I'd be willing to bet 80% of Simeon's struggles are due to being a first-year QB with no running game and a terrible offensive line. Lynch dealt with the same problems when he started. The difference, Paxton can make more plays with his legs, but also looked highly inaccurate. Evaluating young QBs is extremely difficult because there are countless factors that contribute to quarterbacks playing at a high level. So again, and finally, for the last fucking time until the start of next season, I'm going to dig deep in talking about the Broncos quarterback situation and present you with some fucking real facts and information to help you throw out the garbage you hear on Twitter all day. Simeon's biggest obstacle is learning to trust his throws, which means getting rid of the ball more quickly and throwing to a spot where his receiver will be. Here's an example. Simeon has to learn to fire this pass as soon as he sees the pressure coming. Set his feet, throw here, and trust that DT will turn and make the play. For every asshole who says Simeon is garbage, this is why they say that. And for every intelligent angel like myself who believes he has the tools to be effective, we say that learning these things, becoming truly comfortable at the quarterback position, takes time. And it takes trust that you build with your offense. What nobody knows and what many do not want to admit, because there are several people writing and talking about the Broncos every day that want to be right instead of practical, is whether or not Simeon will get better at doing these things. Speaking about Simeon holding on to the ball too long, he's getting rid of the ball more quickly than Andrew Luck, Aaron Rodgers, Dak Prescott, Kirk Cousins, Jameis Winston, and Marcus Mariota. Case Keenum was the 3rd fastest in the NFL with a 2.38 average release time. Simeon is at 2.73, which to me says that this is an arbitrary stat. The top NFL QBs are all over that list. Why? Because it depends on what is done with the football, not how fast the quarterback lets it go. And guys like Aaron Rodgers, who's ranked 43rd in release time, extends plays better than anyone in the league. Tyrod Taylor is currently 49th with a 3.12 release time. Just a heads up for people wishing for him to be in a Broncos uniform. If every quarterback with a poor rookie or first-year start was written off, we'd have almost 0 legendary NFL QBs. Right now, the only NFL QBs who would still have jobs would probably be guys like Cam Newton, Russell Wilson, Dak Prescott, and Aaron Rodgers. Big Ben and Tom Brady won a lot of games their first year as QB1, but their stats were very similar to Simeon's. Comparing Simeon's body of work to anyone other than other first-year starters is not an apples to apples comparison. It's like comparing someone's first sexual performance to that of a porn star. Talk about disparity in release time. You wouldn't want your first time compared to, say, Tommy Gunn, James Dean, Ron Jeremy, John Strong, Jean Valjean, Lexington Steele, Mick Blue, Mr. Pete, Mr. Marcus, Evan Stone, Peter North. Jesus, why do I know so many male porn stars' names? It's not fair to blame all or even most of the offensive struggles on Trevor Siemian when we can all clearly see there are many glaring problems. Denver lacked dynamic playmakers at the skill position this season. The offensive line is atrocious. The running game does not exist. The play calling and overall scheme have been very questionable. I don't care if Troy Aikman was playing quarterback. Wait, why the fuck did I say Aikman? If John Elway were trying to play QB right now, there's no way we could give even him a fair evaluation. The reason people have the juice to push for a guy like Paxton to start immediately is because of where he was drafted. And that's sort of a valid point, but if he was too raw to pick up Kubiak's system, what happens if the Broncos bring in a new offensive coordinator? Is Paxton or even Trevor Siemian going to be able to run that comfortably by next year? I really have no clue. What I want to remind everyone about NFL quarterbacks is that unless they are extremely gifted, and it goes way beyond physical attributes, it takes more than one season to develop into being a great player. Paxton Lynch was probably drafted too early. That's not to say that Lynch doesn't have it, or that he won't succeed in the NFL. It's just that based on his college career and knowing the kind of time a guy like him needs to develop in the league, it's ill-advised to select him in the first round. Elway is aggressive. It's part of what makes him great. But patience is something great GMs also execute in the draft. The problem is, the draft is a guess, and there's no science to choosing when to go after a player and when to wait for the right guy to fall to you. John Elway, Peyton Manning, Matthew Stafford, Steve Young, Matt Ryan, Joe Flacco, Andy Dalton, Carson Wentz, Drew Brees, Carson Palmer, Derek Carr, Troy Aikman, and many more all had pedestrian or flat-out terrible rookie seasons. The exceptions are guys like Russell Wilson and Andrew Luck. Wilson statistically had a much better rookie year than Luck. Wilson threw 26 touchdowns, 10 picks, and had a playoff team. Luck, 23 touchdowns, 18 picks, and a playoff team. Ben Roethlisberger and Tom Brady, both very good their first years as starters, right? Not by the numbers. Big Ben had 17 touchdowns and 11 picks in 13 games. Simeon currently stands at 16 touchdowns, 9 picks, and 13 starts. Tom Brady, 18 TDs, 12 picks, and 14 starts his first year. I'm not saying Simeon is Brady or Roethlisberger. He's definitely not Roethlisberger. What I'm pointing out is the reason Ben and Tom had great success their first season was because they both had great defenses, which the Broncos do currently have, but they also had very effective rushing attacks. And they themselves minimized mistakes at the QB position, much like Simeon has done this season. The Pats scored 14 rushing touchdowns Brady's first season and had a 1,000-yard rusher in Antoine Smith. The Steelers, 15 rushing TDs, and Jerome Bettis and Deuce Staley combining for 1,771 rushing yards, while also being aided by Willie Parker and Vernon Hayes putting up 458 on top of the 1,771, giving the Steelers over 2,200 rush yards that season. Denver has 10 rushing TDs thus far, and CJ Anderson still leads the team despite not playing since October. Aikman, over his first 2 seasons, threw 18 touchdowns and 36 interceptions. He won 7 games and lost 19. After sitting 2 years, Tony Romo had a 6-4 record with 19 touchdowns and 13 picks. Matthew Stafford, 20 interceptions in his first 10 games. A guy like Stafford clearly had no fear slinging the ball all over the field early in his career. A guy like Simeon fears making a mistake, so sometimes he doesn't get rid of the ball. Neither is a good thing as a quarterback, and despite the difference in approach, all young QBs are struggling with learning how to throw the football against NFL defenses, which is extremely fucking difficult. There's a big learning curve here. A guy like Stafford had to learn to limit his interceptions. A guy like Simeon has to learn to maximize his targets and find confidence in throwing in the middle of the field. If Brady and Roethlisberger had a shitty O-line and no running game, their first season, they would not have been successful. John Elway, 14 picks in his first 11 games. Peyton Manning set the rookie record with 28 picks. Steve Young, in his first 19 games in Tampa Bay, threw 11 touchdowns and 22 picks. But in 1987, after landing in San Francisco, Young, in 3 starts for the Niners, threw 10 touchdowns and 0 interceptions. Imagine that. He left a shitty offense, was given a great offense, and he played fucking fantastic. There are and have been numerous talented NFL quarterbacks who have failed because they were simply not part of a good team. Matt Ryan threw 16 touchdowns, 11 picks in his first year. He had 11 wins that season, and guess what else he had? Michael Turner with 17 rushing touchdowns, 1,699 yards on the ground. Jarius Norwood added 4 touchdowns and 489 yards on the ground. So imagine if the Broncos had 21 rushing TDs and 2,000 plus yards on the ground split between 2 backs instead of 10 TDs, 1,341 rush yards split between 10 players, including Brandon McManus and his 6 rush yards. Spread 11 extra TDs across this season, and the Broncos may have only lost 1 game, and that would have been to Kansas City last week. I use this as an example because Matt Ryan's touchdown to interception stats are almost identical to Simeon's. Joe Flacco, 14 TDs, 12 picks. Drew Brees, 17 TDs, 16 picks. Derek Carr, 21 TDs, 12 picks, and 3 wins. Carr averaged 5.3 yards per attempt his rookie year and had no fucking running game. Simeon is averaging 7 yards per attempt with no running game, but has 7 wins due to playing with a good defense. It takes a full team to win games. Why is that so hard for people to understand? Carson Palmer, 18 picks, 18 touchdowns. Palmer had the help of a run game, 12 TDs and over 1,400 yards from Rudy Johnson, but the Bengals defense was shit. I could keep going and going and going with more and more examples. Wait, one last one, because the new fun thing is to compare Simeon to Kyle Orton, which is beyond stupid. Here's Kyle Orton's first year. 1,869 yards passing, 9 TDs, 13 picks, 51.6 completion percentage, 5 lost fumbles on 12 total fumbles and 15 starts. Simeon, sacked 1 more time than Orton was thus far, only has 4 fumbles and 2 lost. More than any other sport, football games cannot be won by one man on more than a rare occasion. The Broncos offense has been bad for 2 years, and it's been bad with 4 different quarterbacks. It's not fair to hold Simeon to the same standards of guys who've been in the league for multiple years. It's not fair to write off Paxton Lynch yet either. It's okay to be critical of Simeon and to point out where he needs to improve. All I ask is that you do not trust anyone who uses definitive statements like there is only one correct answer when evaluating players. It's okay if you think Lynch will be the better quarterback in the NFL. He has the athletic skills to back you up. But it's also okay to say, hey, Trevor didn't do nearly as bad as he could have in a disastrous offense. And maybe that's not the most encouraging thing to say, but in my opinion, after watching football for a very long time, I think a lot can be said for a guy who has had limited mistakes as a passer playing in a very tough situation. Even the really good quarterbacks need a good supporting cast. Dak Prescott is having an amazing rookie season for 3 reasons. He has the best offensive line in the game. He has the league's leading rusher in Ezekiel Elliott. And he is the best rookie quarterback in the NFL. He is good. He's got both the athletic skills and the mental capacity to be great. The types of guys who make up for deficiencies on the offense are typically veterans or Hall of Fame quarterbacks and are very rarely ever rookie or first-year starters. I've said it once and I'll say it again. I think Simeon deserves another year under center. I really believe he can get better, but that's not a guarantee. If Paxton shows he's grasping the offense and is ready to start, I'll support that as well. And if John Elway brings in a superstar for another Super Bowl run, I'll be excited for that too. But I think developing either Simeon or Lynch is the way to go. It's hard because it takes patience and time, which is something football fans of very successful organizations do not seem to have. We've grown to expect wins all the time. 5 years, 5 straight years, playoff teams. That's who the Broncos have been. And now, they're transitioning. It may take a while for the Broncos offense to get better. That's just a fact. But the X factor is GM John Elway, who helped transform a very average Broncos defense into the best defense in the NFL pretty quickly. Can he do the same with the offense, or at least make it good enough to support a great defense over the next couple years? That's what we're gonna find out this offseason. Well, we'll think we found it out, but then we won't really know till next season starts. Thanks for watching another episode of That's Good Broncos. Make sure you subscribe here. Give me a follow on Twitter @BrendanBurda. And get your hemp oil, cwhemp.com, promo code That's Good. And as always, check out the Mile High Report for your Broncos blogging news needs. Do it, even though most of those guys hate Trevor Siemian for no real good reason.